Welcome to the Legacy LaunchPod, where we help families build and scale their online business to the six-figure mark and beyond so they can break the poverty cycle, build generational wealth, and make a huge impact in the kingdom of God. It all starts right here. Welcome back to the Legacy LaunchPod. This is Leah, and we are on our daily walk, and I'm excited to share with you a student win, and then we've got a great question of the day today, talking about some time management, daily routines. People always ask me this stuff. It's fun though. So today, let me share with you a student win that we have happening inside the Legacy Launchpad community. Micah is a vocal coach, and she said, I just made my first big sale within this course, within our program. I sold an $1,800 VIP coaching paid in full on the same day, which is amazing. Woohoo! And I have another person who might pay in full today. So that's incredible. She had previously been in another program, no idea what it was, but it was not delivering the results. And so she came over to my program, Legacy Launchpad, and I've actually got a few vocal coaches in there now, and she is already seeing some incredible results. So I literally celebrate every win like this that comes in. Like, it makes my day. This is what I do for fun. I love helping people make actual progress and move the needle. Congrats, Micah, on your progress. Okay, so question of the day today is from someone who submitted on Instagram. The question is, can you tell me more about your daily routine? How do you manage all areas of your life in a day? And so, time management question, basically. In terms of our daily routine, there's definitely some structure. So I came up with a system many years ago when I first was a mom of 4 kids, and then 5 kids. And they were all under the age of 7 at the time, 8 at the time. There was no choice but to get kind of structured and organized. And when I say structure and organized, you might be like, oh my gosh, but I am so not disciplined. Well, let me tell you, I'm an artist. I'm an artist through and through. Some of you might not know that background of me, but I'm a full-blown musician, singer, songwriter, and I have all the artist blood in me. But even though my natural tendency is to want to be loosey-goosey, wake up and see what I feel like doing that day, that's not really possible when you have a large family, several kids. There's things to do, people to see, appointments, and whatnot. And I quickly realized if I was going to get anywhere in life, and especially when I started building a business or working on an album or anything like that, I had to get organized with our day. And so I actually made a little lesson about this. It's called How to Homeschool and Build a Business at the Same Time. If you go on any one of my posts on Instagram and you type the word kids in a comment, my automation will send you the link. So you can literally go on any post, just type in the word kids, it'll send it to you. But the system is basically, you've got to start with basically bedtimes and wake up times. What time does everybody go to bed? What time does everybody wake up? And then put your meal times in. And if you did nothing else and you just stuck to bedtimes, wake up times, and regular meal times, you're already providing some structure in the day. Not only does that work so well for kids, but our bodies love it too, because we are creatures of habit. Our bodies love routine. So I started with those bookends, the meal times, and then when your kids are little, there's nap times. With me being able to schedule that right on in, I was then able to fill in the other gaps with structured playtime or free playtime or room time, right? It's like, okay, well, for this half an hour, you get to play in your room. There's your blocks, here's your books, and there you go. So those are some of the things that I did to create structure in the early days. So it sounds kind of funny, but we essentially still follow that exact same thing now. We've got bedtimes for the household. Not saying that we all follow it exactly, but we have a general flow to our day. Okay, so everybody's supposed to be in bed by a certain time. People have to be up at a certain time because our kids take care of the zoo. We have a few too many animals, in my opinion, but we have a zoo, everything from chickens to tarantulas. And I won't go down that rabbit trail this time. I'll save the tarantula stories for another day. But anyway, we have animals, so they've got stuff to do. And then they have classes
I start my day with a coffee and I put out my daily content on Instagram. That's just what I do every morning. I chat with people and then I move on to other admin tasks. Steve's usually up bright and early. He's up before I am in the morning. He does a daily workout and then he does math with the kids at 8 o'clock. And so, it's just you start with the wake up time, your meal times. We aim to have dinner as a family most nights of the week. And so, if as long as there's only 1 or 2 nights a week where there's something that's interrupting that. But we eat a little earlier in the evening these days. And yeah, so meal times are baked in and then it's easy. You just create a structure. And so I think I am sometimes curious if I were to go and hang out with some of my clients or people who are not in my program, I should say, and just observe what they're doing in the day. I'm really curious what I would find. Like, are they disciplined? Are they not disciplined? Is there structure? Is there no structure? I'm legitimately curious to see what I would find if I could easily point out the low-hanging fruit as to, oh, here's a productivity block right here you could be using to build a business. So, I mean, I always had to find that, right? I had to, you know, uh, focused work blocks where you can really move the needle, they don't make themselves happen. It's not going to happen by accident. You have to design it. You have to be so intentional and you have to bake it into your day and let it become nearly sacred. I heard Amy Porterfield once call it tiger time, and I liked that term, tiger time, as where, hey, this is my time. Nobody's touching it or I'm going to be growling, right? So nobody touched this time. So bake it in, make it a non-negotiable time of your day. And if that means you have to wake up at 5 a.m., so be it. I did that. I woke up at 5 a.m. for a few months to create my Legacy Launchpad program. That was the only time of the day that would be completely quiet. I needed the whole house quiet. I need to be able to think my own thoughts without interruption, without anybody. I don't want to hear a cat meowing. I needed peace and quiet. And so that's what I did for months until I got it done. And that was the most productive thing I could have done. So that's my encouragement to you in terms of managing different aspects. Now, one more note on that. Steve and I have very different roles in terms of what we manage. In terms of business, I'm very much on the front end of marketing, product development, messaging, customer experience. I'm more on that side. He's all on the logistics, everything from vendors and overseas ordering, shipping, finance, all of that fun stuff. So he's on that side. And then in our home, I take on the planning of the homeschool stuff, planning out the years, getting the kids organized, all of that. And Steve's very much, again, very logistical in our home, right? So he does a lot of the driving and the dump runs and all that stuff. So we definitely have a pretty clear delineation of roles. And some of it we fell into naturally, and other things we just made decisions. It's really nothing earth shattering to me. There's nothing earth shattering or groundbreaking here. So I'm always like wondering, like, is that the answer you were looking for? It's like we have structure, we plan, we use day timers, we use Google Calendar, we stick to it, and we have a lot of flexibility as well. Like, we're the kind of people where we're not rigid. So we plan with one foot forward, and the other foot is ready to pivot if and whenever it's needed. I think that's the only way you can have peace and fun, actually, because if you're too rigid, well, life is just constantly changing, isn't it? And it doesn't matter what you do, every 5 minutes, something's kind of kiboshing your plan, right? So then that's not fun. Whereas if you're too flexible and you're too loosey goosey, nothing's really going to get done. You're not going to make progress, or you're getting constantly distracted and not really moving the needle. So you've got to have a bit of discipline to have both. So I feel like I like the idea of flexible routine. It's a routine, you've got a flow in your day, but you're flexible enough that you can change on a dime and you're not going to get stressed about it. So that was the main question of the day. The main thing I wanted to talk to you about today is Instagram. And this is kind of a funny story because I just made a post about this and I've never considered myself a social media expert. I think I am a social media generalist. Here was my point that I made in my post the other day. This is very surprising to people, but to succeed in a business, you don't actually have to be an expert at anything in particular. Rather, the business that takes off and gets off the ground, gets to the first six figures and then seven figures, at that point, it's largely the main founders who are doing most of everything. They're wearing all the hats. So you actually have to be a pretty decent generalist. That means you have to be half decent at most things, from, whether that's creating the product to maybe even making your own graphics. That's always questionable, but if you have some skill and you have an eye, maybe you're doing that. You're doing the sales, you're doing the customer service, you're the everything person. And you only have to be half decent at it, right? Until your business gets to a certain point, and at that point you hire specialists. And there are certain things.
Well, I was just going to say, it means you have to be able to figure stuff out. Like if you're not willing to figure stuff out and learn, how to build a landing page or something like that and do the very best you can with what you got and take some training and, make the best design you can. Like anybody can do that, right? Granted, there are some people who have a much better design eye than others, i.e., you and me. I am horrible at design, but if I had to, I could create a page that would convert. It just wouldn't be near as good as yours, right? But in terms of the generalist, you're not coming into it with the experience already or the know-how already. The important key factor is that you're willing and able to figure it out and take action quickly.
Thanks, babe. That's really good. Yeah. So when it comes to things like Instagram, I'm just kind of laughing at myself because I would think I'm not the person to teach Instagram, except that I just did the math. I went into my payment processor and I see that I have generated over $300,000 in cash, not even like payments that are due coming up unfulfilled, but 300,000 cash from my mediocre Instagram skills. So I feel decently qualified enough to teach you some Instagram strategies because I've been testing. And of course, I have great coaches and mentors as well. And I just want to give you some hope that's like, hey, social media, I want to get one thing straight for you. There's only one reason to be on social media when you're a business owner, and it's to promote your business. There's no other reason to be on there. So I don't like wasting time. Do you think I want to be on Instagram, on social media all day? No. I want to be out castle shopping. I want to be out, at the beach or sitting by my pool or hanging out with my kids or thrifting for fun or doing whatever we want. I don't want to be on social media. I mean, I like connecting with friends and family, but that's not really where we connect. So there's only one reason to be on it. And I want you to stop thinking of it as social media. It's business media. It's business media. So with that in mind, I want to share with you 5 key points that I've learned about my mediocre Instagram skills that have actually generated over 300,000 in collected cash in the last 9 months. Okay, so here's number 1, consistency. And I hope you're not cringing when I say that, because I know every time someone says that, you're like, ah. But listen, it's like, excuse me, it's free. You don't even have to pay for this. You're not even doing ads. If all you have to do is show up every day and do what everybody else won't do, why wouldn't you do that? So the idea here is you got to post every day. You have to make it a daily habit by tacking that task onto something else you're already doing. That's how you start a new habit, right? If you ever read Atomic Habits or any of those other good productivity books, that's what they recommend. When I get up in the morning, I'll see my glasses and then I see my vitamins, like the new vitamins I'm supposed to take on an empty stomach. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, I got to take that. If I don't have it there and I have it somewhere else in the kitchen, well, I might not go over to that part of the kitchen that day. So I might miss it. So for me, my trigger is I make my post of the day with my first coffee. And then it just becomes a habit. And now I really have the habit. And if something really throws me off that day, because sometimes it happens, I don't really worry about it. I just post it later in the day. So I find, a different lull in the day around lunchtime or something. But I almost Don't ever miss a day. Second thing is your avatar. You've got to speak to one avatar and make it ultra specific. And this one shift alone grew my account by like 30,000. Someone asked what an avatar is. It is a collection of characteristic traits and demographic things that make up your ideal customer or your ideal client. Okay, so an ideal client is who's the exact person you want to serve. So this is not the episode where I'm going to do a deep dive on all the different components of what I would call $1 million avatar. I actually have a lesson on this, but I'll have to link that to the show notes. You have to be speaking to one avatar in all your posts. Don't try to talk to 3 different people. You probably have heard this saying, if you're trying to market to everyone, you're marketing to no one. So stop trying to appeal to the whole wide world. I really narrowed down my niche. I started getting ultra specific with my messaging and just calling them out. Hey, Christian entrepreneurs, homeschool families, like they are sometimes one and the same. Sometimes they're a little separate, but generally speaking, there's one specific avatar that I'm talking to. Not everybody homeschools. That's okay. As long as they're not hostile to my worldview, anybody's welcome to learn from me. But that doesn't stop me from being ultra specific in my marketing. So that doesn't hurt anything at all. If anything, that's how you stand out so that you're not a needle in a haystack. The third tip is your message. You got to have one main message that you're trying to get out to your avatar. What is that message? So if you've got one avatar, you have one message. How clear do you think that's going to be in an ocean of information, ambiguity, and conflicting voices and confusion? It's going to be so loud and clear. So extremely important that you have your message dialed in. What problem do you solve? Who are you solving it for? These are questions that most people don't know how to answer. And of course, they don't know how to answer it because they haven't done the pre-work of the market research that I teach. And so they don't really know the answer to any of that. They have a vague idea. And when you're not that clear, your customers are not that clear. And if they're confused or it's not clear to them, they're gone or they never buy. So really important that you dial that one in. The next is volume. You've got to be committed to testing a high volume of content and styles for the first while to find out what resonates. Basically, since 2020, and I was like, if you go way back to the beginning, you'll see, like, I didn't really have my vibe dialed in, so to speak, right? I didn't have my style. My message was a lot more general. It was like for any business owner or e-commerce. It was a little more geared e-commerce. And, I was like trying all different kinds of things, and that was fine. I did what I did. And then I would say I had a moment actually when Steve and I were in the UK in April of 2023 for our anniversary. And I was taking some content. I was starting to do some short form stuff. We were staying in this incredible manor. And I had this moment. I was like, oh, this is my style. This is my vibe. I can't believe, like, it always has been, but why haven't I been tapping into that? Why haven't I been featuring that? Why haven't I dialed that in? I mean, all of this for me speaks to my message, which is all about legacy and long-term vision, generational wealth. And all, like, this is the perfect thing. The castles, the old villages that are timeless. They're beautiful. They've been there for generations. There's custodians of these incredible buildings and villages, and they have to pass that vision on to the next generation. Everything about it is what I stand for and what I'm all about. Why haven't I been using the aesthetics of it in my brand? So I had a moment where I dialed in, and I came back from that trip changed, and my business definitely exploded after that. So dialing in the message, dialing in the avatar, and then even matching the brand and the aesthetics through testing a lot of volume of stuff. That's how you're going to get there. So at first, you have to test a lot of things, and you got to be willing, maybe post 2 times a day, 3 times a day, different things. You've got to figure out what sticks. And you're only going to know that if you're looking at your metrics, right? So you've got to look at your creator dashboard, whatever it is, your professional dashboard. You should be on a business Instagram account, and they give you a professional dashboard. You can see all your insights. And then you got to look at which posts got the most engagement, and especially shares. Right now, shares are the gold standard. That tells you it's really good content. People tend to share a lot of things privately with other people. So whichever ones are getting the most comments and the most shares, make more of that and dial it in, make it better. You can post the same thing almost every day, but tweak it slightly until you perfect it. One of them will go viral. I've seen so many case studies of people who have posted the exact same content over and over again. And it goes viral every time. They just change one tiny thing or don't change anything at all. And one time it does go viral, the other time it had 200 views. So, you got to be willing to test a lot and look at it as an experiment. So those are my 5 tips of things that I've learned about Instagram with my mediocre skills. And hey, I've generated multiple 6 figures as a side hustle, very much a side thing for fun. If I can do that, I think there's even people who are far more talented than me in terms of content creation who will far surpass what I've done. So I hope that helps. And I'm actually going to do a whole deep dive, not just on Instagram, but on using Instagram for business and the different things I've been doing. These are just some tips, but I've got a lot more to cover. So I'm doing a live masterclass on September 26th, and anybody can come. I know some of my clients are probably listening to this. You're free to come as well. This is going to be a deep dive. If you want to register for this, it's free. All you have to do is send me a DM on Instagram. Send me the word IG, and I will send you the link to register. And there are 2 times on that day. I'm doing 2 different sessions. I would love to see you there. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.